Hello, joyful geniuses. Andrew here. Andrew here. Andrew Horder, founder of Joyful Genius Coaching. For the last decade or so, I've been helping solo practitioners like you, like me, to find your joyful genius, to take it out there into the world and make a great living doing what you love. And this week, I want to talk about, I touched on it in last week's live, where I talked about the difference between instinct and intuition. And it comes from a concept that I have of what I call the three eyes of inspiration, or in some cases I'll talk about it as the three eyes of inspirational thinking. And like I said last week, there's really three types of thinking that we do, types of mental processing, if you like, that we do when we're faced with choices about what to do in our lives. The first of those is that instinctual thing that comes from the lizard brain, keeps us safe, but it potentially limits us. That thing that, if I do this, I won't get eaten by the saber-toothed tiger, which is fantastic. But it's not really what I would call thinking. It's more of a reaction. It's doing what we've done before. It's kept us safe before, so we're not going to take any risks. We're going to do the same thing again. And it is very fast. If it's thinking at all, it's very, very fast thinking. There's no processing going on with that. It's simply instinctive response or reaction to the stimulus. Next one is the intuition. And that's where that is coming from a higher place, and it's physiologically it's coming from the gut mind. Neuroscientists have now come to accept that all of our neurology is not just based in our head. It's our thinking is also going on in other parts of our body. There are those who hold that there are neurological cells in our heart. There's also neurological cells in our gut, and certainly they have looked at the gut mind as reacting faster to what's going on, but the heart mind, if you like, that's where I would say that intuition is coming from. That's that thing that gives you that warm feeling when something's right, or that heavy feeling when something's wrong. In Access Consciousness, we talk about heavy and light. If something's right for you, if something's true for you, then it feels light to go and do it. If it feels heavy, then it's wrong for you, it's a lie for you. So intuition, that's the heart mind. It's coming from other parts of your neurology, and it's coming from somewhere greater than you to a large extent, certainly greater than the head. Yeah, the instinct is largely coming from the amygdala at the back of base of your spine there, or the base of your occiput, where it's the lizard brain that's keeping you safe. Intuition is coming from the other parts of your neurology. And then the final eye, that a lot of people forget it and a lot of people actually demonise it, is the intellect. That is where you're doing the logical thinking about something. The if A, then B. Collecting information, real knowledge information as opposed to knowing information. You may recall that I make a big distinction between knowledge, which is the stuff you get from books, and to a large extent stuff you get from experience. You can point to, I know this because that. Empirical proof, that sort of thing. And the knowing, which comes from your intuition, which you just know it, but you can't explain why. Horribly unscientific to the intellectuals amongst us, but actually a lot more accurate than pure intellect. But where people go wrong is when they leave intellect out of it. In the spiritual world, personal development world, there's so much talk about just do what comes naturally, just be yourself, all that kind of stuff. And real logical thinking, scientific thinking, is almost demonised. in some quarters. And I think that's a terrible shame, because the refinement that comes from placing your intellect, putting your intellect to work on an opportunity, on a situation, on a way that you can react to the world, that's where you get to bring the marriage of the passion that's coming from instinct and from intuition, and the pragmatism that comes of making that suitable for the real world, understanding how the real world is going to interact with that. You need all three. You do need the impetus of instinct, but instinct on its own, it will almost certainly limit you. It will stop you doing things that could be absolutely fantastic for you. Intuition on its own is great, but if you can't explain it to people, in the real world, you're going to have a problem, because not everybody shares your intuition. Intellect on its own is great, but no matter how clever your argument to persuade somebody to do something, it's not going to take them by the heart and bring them along with you. There's that phrase, isn't there? A man persuaded against his will is of the same opinion still. Yeah. No matter how logical your argument, if it's not right for them, if it's not connecting with them at a heart level, then they're not going to buy into it. So you need the intellect, you need the intuition, you need the instinct. All of those three together create the inspirational thinking that allows you to connect to your tribe, to connect to the people who need what you do, your genius. Yeah, it's the inspiration is coming from that higher purpose, and when you've got all of your eyes put together, so you've got the three eyes of instinct, intuition, and intellect, all combining together to create inspiration. That's when your genius is going to come out, and that's when your genius is going to come out so easily and joyfully that it is just like your genius coming out to play. It's you in flow, it's you completely in your mojo, everything's firing off and working. And you'll only get there, I honestly believe you will only get there, if you use all three types of thinking: instinctive, intuitive, and intellectual. That's my rant for this week. Now listen, if you're finding that one or other of those is missing from your thinking, and you're feeling a bit stuck, you feel like you've lost your mojo, then I've got this lovely little video that you can watch that will help you understand how the work that I do can help you to find your mojo and get back into that joyful genius kind of work that is just a pleasure, a joy to be doing and to be getting paid for. It's at this URL, www.joyful-genius.com/mojo, and at the end of it there's an invitation for you to book on for a quick 15-minute call with me, just to understand where you're at and what you need to do so that you can get into that inspirational thinking, finding your mojo, and getting out there with your joyful genius. I'd love to be talking to you. I think that's me done. So until next week, keep up the great work.